Hey all, Chris Bassett here, and let's see how well Rit clothing dye works on stuff like this. Let's get into it. So I've got some old work shirts that fit really well, but I don't want to wear bright orange in public without attracting too much attention. So I'm like, well, I could turn it black. So I looked at the options for dye. There's like a chalk mixture that you add to a bucket. There's also like a dye solution, and this is supposed to be the best kit that Rit sells. It's back to black. I was looking at the prices, and it's like $2 or $3 for the regular stuff, and then like $8 for this advanced version. So I picked up the advanced. It looks like it's gonna make our shirt pitch black, which is what I want. So you got a couple of things in the kit. You got the jet black Rit dye. You have the color stay dye fixative. You get some gloves, and then a little instruction manual that tells you how to dye stuff. So let's do a quick review of what the instructions say. Darkness varies by dye type, method, amount of dye used, water temperature, and time in the dye bath. It's not recommended for synthetic fibers, so look at your tag on the back of your shirt. It'll tell you what you've got. These shirts is 50% cotton and 50% polyester. So technically not recommended for this shirt. It says no more than 35% use a different type of dye, but we've got it here, so let's go. May not be effective on bleach damaged fabrics, and when in doubt, use a test dye swatch first. Rit loves hot water. Since this is cotton, it says to use a little bit of soapy water with salt, a cup of salt in the water, and hot water. So I'm going to boil a little bit of water to get the water temperature above 140, and then keep in mind anything that you use the dye in is going to stain. So if you're doing it in your sink, going to stain that. So I got a 5-gallon bucket I'm going to use, and it's going to stain the bucket. But wear clothes that you don't want to stain, and then use those gloves if you don't want your skin stained. It's supposed to keep it off your skin. So probably the most effective way is to use a big like stainless steel pot and boil the water the entire time while you're dyeing the fabric. I don't have a pot that big. I bought some buckets off of Facebook Marketplace for like $2 a bucket. So we're going to use that. So it's a general use application. You want to be using rubber gloves when you prepare the dye bath. Here I'm going to fill up this pot with water, get that boiling, and then use probably like 2/3 of the bucket with as hot as water will come out of the tap. So you can see it's steaming. I think I've got the water heater set to like 120 degrees, maybe. But the water temperature should be around 140. It also says add a cup of salt to the dye bath for cotton, rayon, and linen, and then add a cup of vinegar to the dye bath for nylon, silk, or wool. Also use a little bit of dishwash detergent. It'll help promote the dyeing. And then you want to mix it up well. See, I'm wearing my junk clothes. They've already got battery stains down the side of the arm and some jeans. Our water is now boiling, so we're going to add that to the bucket. It does recommend that you pre-wash the fabric and remove any finishes or stains. And then you want to submerge the unfolded wet fabric into the dye bath. So I'm just going to take the t-shirts, toss them in there, and get them wet, let them soak up some of the water, and then we're going to pour the jug of dye in there. I'm also going to take all this stuff outside because I don't want any splashing on the floor. Look at my nice, beautiful floor, but don't want any extra stains that I will have to clean or anything. So we're going to shove that down in the bucket, and that is hot, baby! Woo! Also, you're going to need something to stir with, so you could use a piece of metal, a stick. I got like some metal rods that in the garage, so we'll use that to stir up the bucket. Just pick something that you don't care if it stains it black or whatever. So we're gonna go ahead and get the bucket ready. I'm just gonna pour the dye in there. It did recommend that you make this solution prior to everything, and I'm not wearing my gloves, shame on me, but we're gonna go ahead and pour that in there, and then it recommends that you stir it consistently for at least 30 minutes or until the desired color is achieved, up to 60 minutes. So I'm going to sit outside, listen to the stereo for 60 minutes while I'm continuously stirring this bucket of dye. The instructions did also say you could dye inside of your washing machine for maximum convenience. You may get lighter results, but then it's right in the washing machine. So I've got my watch on and I timed it. 60 minutes of continuous stirring, and it's time for the big reveal. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at this shirt, and it is brown. All right. So the big thing to learn from is really double check, make sure that your fabric type is the correct type for the dye. So it did recommend that 35% or more synthetic fibers use the synthetic fiber dye. So I guess black plus orange is brown. This would also be the time that if you're using the Color Stay dye fixative, you know, you'd transfer the clothing into the next bucket with that and then let it sit for an additional 30 minutes. I'm just going to spray it off with the hose. That way it does say to rinse the clothing with cool water until the rinse water begins to run clear. So we're going to spray that off, and all this stuff is non-toxic, so you're good to go. And here's the finished product, brown, and then I still have orange seams. So I'm sure this will be a fine work shirt. There we go. Hey, check out some other videos over here. I've got Amazon links and affiliate links down in the description. Make sure you check those out. Check out my PayHip page for some specialty goods. Any other questions or comments, put those below. Thanks.